Hey guys, I'm finally back from my cruise ship vacation. The first few weeks were fun, but then the captain said something about Corona beers and then there was no internet for 5 months. I had to stay in this little cruise ship room and the only forms of entertainment I had was Minecraft Uno, a hula hoop, and a game called Life is Strange. Life is indeed strange, especially when writers trying to cram as many social issues down my throat as fast as possible without caring if I need to breathe or not. And yeah, one could say,
well, Brownie, you didn't have to play the game, you idiot.
Au contraire. There was nothing else to do but play the game, because my idiot bunkmate fucking destroyed our hula hoop after trying to hang himself with it. What I experienced on that ship was awful gameplay, an okay story, and seaside depression. No joke, I am actively having nightmares about the characters from this game. I am not kidding. God, please have mercy on my soul. This is usually the part in my video where I explain why I didn't already consume the media that I'm reviewing. But to be frank, I barely learned of this game's existence, and the moment I heard it was a choice-driven story game, I jumped straight on it. Because I love story games, they make me feel all mushy inside. But before I review the game, let me check the news, see what's going on in the world. What the fuck? Life is Strange is an interactive drama and adventure game, I guess. To be quite honest, I don't know what category Life is Strange fits in when it comes to gaming as a whole. It's not as quite interactive as a Detroit Become Human, but it's not an entire cutscene movie. If there's a graph that suits games that feature choices that matter and gameplay, I'd say Life is Strange is below the first season of the Walking Dead game. I'll get more into the details of choices and gameplay after I dissect this video into 4 different parts. Usually on this channel, I rate games on my scam review process, but since this is a story-driven game, I had to alter what each part of scam stands for. The S is now for the story aspect, the C is for choices, the A is for the audio, visual, technical side of things, and M is for how much fun I had or how much emotion was evoked. I'll jump right into the story because that's where games like this make it or break it. We take the role of Maxine Caulfield, a would-be photographer and senior at Blackwell Academy, a high school which specializes in science and art. So all the students are either big nerds, pompous arties, or stoners, which I have no issue with. The side characters got laughs out of me sometimes.
You crack me up, Maxer. Of course I'm baked, so I'll laugh at anything.
Not only are we dealing with students from Blackwell Academy, we also have run-ins with townies from Arcadia Bay, the fictional city where Life is Strange takes place in. This small Pacific Northwest town, like in real life, is pretty diverse when it comes to political and social issues, with the younger people usually all in for a liberal and socially just world, while the older geezers hate minorities and women. Our main protagonist is a shy, small, freckled white girl, which is pretty opposite of me, all things considered. So it took some time to become accustomed to my main character, which I understand a lot of women and NBs must feel all the time when it comes to video games, but I'll step off my soapbox. One day, unexplainably, during a trip to the restroom, Max discovers she has the ability to rewind time after she witnesses a student straight up just getting fucking shot. She uses her rewind abilities to return to her classroom we were just in. Honestly, the first few minutes of this game is promising. You live through your initial classroom normalities and then saunter into the restroom. While the second time around, you already know the answers to the teacher's questions and how to respond to any social interactions we may encounter. While our main character Max has an internal dialogue about how she might be going crazy while also being worried for the student who is about to be murdered in the restroom. We saved the day by pulling a fire alarm and making sure the student isn't killed, so yay! I'm not going to explain the entire game like this, that would be a 3-hour video. So here's me trying to summarize each episode for you in under 4 minutes. After saving that no-name student from the entitled asshole named Nathan Prescott, we learned that our would-be murderee is our old best friend Chloe Price, a rebellious and snarky 2015 blue-haired chick. She saves us from an ass-whooping, and we tell her about an earlier premonition that a tornado is going to decimate the entire town, and then we kind of just stare at the ocean for a while. Max is trying to convince Chloe that we have super time powers, and Chloe buys it after we correctly guess what's in her pocket. And then dipshit Chloe almost dies twice, and we save her both times using our time powers. All while our new Christian best friend Kate Marsh is super sad because she got drugged up at a party and kissed all the boys, and someone filmed it. Now she's going to kill herself. Here you can either save her from jumping or not, it doesn't really matter to be honest. Up to this point, Chloe keeps talking about her old friend Rachel Amber and her mysterious disappearance, and we the main character is like, okay, we'll help I guess. And we suspect that the entire school staff is in cahoots in her disappearance, so we break into Blackwell Academy at night and find out almost nothing about Rachel. But we learn that this shitty kid right here is mentally disturbed, who cares? And I guess Chloe and Max feel like it's the right time to go swimming, it's kind of dumb. Anyway, at one point Chloe's like, why'd you leave me? My dad is dead and it's your fault. And we don't really do much. We are a pretty worthless main character when it comes to consoling people. After some reflection and intense staring at old photos,
New superpower alert.
we can go back in time using old photos with ourselves in it. Kind of cool. We stop Chloe's dad from dying and then we come back to the present to a twist. Chloe is now a wheelchair-bound, non-rebel high school senior. Well, after we learn that Chloe hates her life and wants to die, we kill her. We jump back to our original reality and then we don't talk about what just happened. Despite that, we figure out that evil McShittyface's family owns a desolate barn in the forest. I guess I should have told you that we believe that evil shit is somehow involved with Rachel Amber's disappearance. After going to that barn, we find a super creepy underground bunker and we learn that someone is taking weird and inappropriate pictures of the female students of Blackwell Academy. This includes Rachel Amber. We learn she is dead. RIP. Chloe's like, I'm about to kill, and we embark to a school dance party where Nathan is nowhere to be found. Twist time, it's our photography teacher who's actually the murderer, weird photo man. He kills Chloe and kidnaps us and takes us to the scary bunker room. Using our time-bending blue skidoo and We Can 2 powers, we notify authorities about Mr. Evil Teacher and he is arrested. But when we jump back to the present, we realize that our earlier premonition is coming true and Arcadia Bay is about to be clapped by this tornado. After seeing so much death and destruction, Max decides to go back in time again. This time she appears in a hellish nightmare that consists of all the horrible things that happened to her that week. Once awakening from that nightmare, she finds herself with the now alive Chloe at the lighthouse, where she is witnessing firsthand her premonition from earlier. After deducing that this tornado is due to the fact that Max saved Chloe at the beginning of this week, somehow we're faced with a gut-wrenching choice. New record. Alright, I tried my best. I'm not great at summarizing, but with the time I gave myself, that's the best I could do. Sorry if I slurred some words, I never finished my speech classes. First of all, my biggest gripe with the story is the main antagonist. The big twist at the end of episode 4. It's not that you're not giving clues that he's the murderer in the story, it's the fact that there's so many characters in this game that would have been a better main antagonist. We are setting up this entire case against Nathan Prescott, and it's disappointing when he kind of just dies off screen. I thought there would be a nice side lesson that some people with mental issues do evil things, and yes, it's good to understand their mind and why they do the things they do, but they are still evil and deserve persecution. And then Mr. Jefferson, the photography teacher who doesn't really play any vital role to the story until the last episode, is now this master puppeteer. It's a boring cliche twist that I saw coming a mile away. The only reason why I did not expect for it to happen was out of respect for the writers. Since the game dealt with such mature topics, you would think that this game would have a mature storyline too, but that's wrong. Twist and storytelling is a great way to intrigue the people you're telling the story to, but if the story has an undeserved twist like the one in this game, you feel cheated. As someone who put hours of their lives into this story, I feel like I just got shat on. In my recap, I gloss over a lot of characters, and I mean more than half the characters in the game because they do not matter. I tried my best to name each character that was vital to the story of Life is Strange, and there was only like 4, including the main character. And yeah, you could say,
Well, this character is important to move the story forward at that part of the game.
which is absolutely right. It feels like some characters are only there to move the story forward, not to be an introspective side story that I care about. The worst part is when the game tried to make me care about people who are inherently really shitty, and I couldn't bring myself to do it. We have abusive ex-military stepdad and cliched mean girl who just shits on other people due to their insecurities, both of whom I was expected to feel bad for by the end of the game, and I didn't. Not because I did not try, it was because their characters were not fleshed out enough for me to care. And that's just 2 of over at least 25 characters that we get the chance to have multiple conversations with. Everyone in this game is a walking cliche, and it does hurt the story. If I wanted to, I can go on for like 20 more minutes about the story, but just understand that I believe the story of this game tries to do the most, which I find commendable. It just does not work for me. The story is a 6.6 out of 10 at best. This game is a choice-driven game. That's not my words. On the Life is Strange Wikipedia, it says, and I quote, "Player choice and consequence play a key role, and your actions will determine how the story unfolds around you." This is a lie. And I'll extend an olive branch to you Life is Strange fans and say that most choice-driven games usually only have like 1 or 2 endings. Like The Walking Dead Season 1. It's the illusion of choice that makes games like this so good. You are led to believe that every choice you made in the entire game leads you to the final choice you make. In The Walking Dead's case, it's heart-wrenching because you're tricked to believe that you are in part responsible for what's happening to your main characters. So that weight is on you, and then you cry like a bitch when you have to make the final decision. However, the stories of both The Walking Dead and Life is Strange is way more diagonal than we think. I only know that Life is Strange walks a narrow story path because I already played games like The Walking Dead. So that magic where you believe that you are truly in control of your character is not there for me. Ignorance is bliss, and to be oblivious to the fact that you're playing a predestined story that will end with only 2 choices is why I believe Life is Strange and The Walking Dead's ratings are so high. For a video game, these games are pretty fucking boring. It's the story that carries both of these games to the admiration levels they get. With that in mind, you have to realize this game is nothing more than an animated graphic novel that may sometimes kill characters that weren't vital to the story anyway. In my initial playthrough, I kept all of the characters that can be alive by the end alive, and nothing felt important or different. Just like in The Walking Dead, where you have a different group of people who offer to assist you in your final task, it's merely a cosmetic change with slight conversation variants. It's less for Life is Strange. If a character dies, they're completely gone from the game, and you never feel the weight of them being gone. There's never moments where you think, oh crap, I wish I would have left this character alive, because the final choice is not dependent on if you kept those characters alive or not. Which brings me to the final choice, the black eye on this game. You have to choose between keeping your best friend alive or saving Arcadia Bay. Both of these choices suck. If you save Chloe, the ingrate who you've already saved a billion times, you kind of just drive away going through a war-torn town where you visibly see the death and destruction that you've let happen. For this girl, all she does is smoke weed, eat hot chips, be bisexual, and die over and over. Or you save a town which actively has some of the worst residents ever, like Aryan Murder Kid and Creepy Photo Man, cops, and this guy.
I was eating those bees!
I would have rather stayed in a nightmare horror world where white people look for me forever. Choices in this game are either dumb or worthless. 2 out of 10. This game is pretty soft looking. I actually adore the way this game looks. It's elegant in my eyes. I would live in this world if I could. The god rays, the ocean, the orange fall feeling, it is a beautiful world in Arcadia Bay. However, I would not want to live in this world if people looked like this. There was little to no emotion in this game. Here's the scene where Kate is about to end her own life, and it looks like she just had a lobotomy an hour before. I could never truly tell when the characters were sad, or happy for that matter, unless they cried or laughed audibly. I've also had a few visual glitches here or there, which is pretty weird for a game like this, as the kinks are usually really ironed out, seeing that there's not a lot of places to explore or go. The soundtrack is peak indie. I'm not gonna play any of the songs from the game because I'm brown and I can't afford a lawyer. Just know I was apprehensive towards the indie route at first, but I'll be damned if they made indie songs in a video game work. Some of the most memorable scenes are accompanied by the indie soundtrack. It adds this layer of an unclear, misty, faraway feeling into certain segments of the game, but at the same time, the music also dates the game back to the mid-2010s, which isn't a horrible thing. I don't recommend many game soundtracks, but there are some indie bangers in this game. The gameplay leaves a lot to be desired for a seasoned gamer like me. I understand that this may be a lot of people's introduction to gaming, or at least the story-driven interactive gaming, but fuck, did it have to be this boring? God damn, I could not play this game in one sitting like I would usually do with the Walking Dead games, or any Telltale game for that fact. God, this game is boring, but I understand why it has to be boring. All in all, the audio, visual, technical side of things is a straight 7 out of 10. I'm gonna keep it real with you, Chief. This story is not for me. I do love me some emotional moments in games, and I have cried at multiple games. I am a big crier. I cry at movies, TV shows, plays. Sometimes when I got up for work and saw the sunrise, I cry. But this game does not evoke anything for me, and I don't know why. It's partly why this video took so long for me to make, because I cannot put into words why Life is Strange is a dud in my mind. I think it just boils down to the fact that I could not relate to anyone in this game. Nothing was relatable, and I really mean nothing. I could not picture myself empathizing with or liking any of the main characters if they were real people. Besides Kate, of course, she's cute. The funny thing is, I can absolutely see why some 16-year-old from Arkansas would hold this game in such high praise, because they relate to Max Caulfield or Chloe Price. But as me, Guy, finally, I cannot say the same. I don't think it's fair to give the emotional factor a number review because I couldn't place myself in a position to have any strong emotions about these characters, so question mark out of 10. Life is Strange sucks as a video game and is mediocre as a story-driven Choice Matters game. I would not recommend this game to any of my friends if I had friends. This game is a mandolin and a microphone away from the next Lumineers album. This game feels like white men trying to write white girls for white male teenagers to play. This game would read their slam poetry at the high school talent show and then Naruto run off the stage when they're done. This game is ingenuine to people who've actually been through true trauma. This game is a 4 out of 10. Bye. I love you.
Come here. Floyd, don't. My dog just threw up on the floor.